Well, I expected there to be a pretty sensational reaction, and that's what we've gotten. But it's a variety of different responses. So I'm kind of surprised at how many different types of responses we've got. There's a lot of encouragement and support, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that I think are angry over the situation. Yeah, there is a percentage of the population that has already drawn its conclusions about what happened, and I think they're going to be the hardest people to reach. They've already, based on media reports and that type of thing, have come to their own conclusions. And now that I'm saying something different, contrary to what they've already believed, it's tough for them to accept that. Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think that the police department, if they are just patient enough, they will see that what I'm doing is actually in their best interest. It's going to clear up the misperception about their involvement in Biggie Smalls' murder. So I'm kind of helping them out. But as far as the technicality of whether or not it was appropriate to take the materials, I consulted with attorneys prior to the publication of this book, and my attorneys assured me that it was not going to be a legal issue. I was directly involved in the investigation from the summer of 2006 to the summer of 2009, so 3 years. Well, I couldn't write the book, obviously, while I was on the police department. It was a conflict of interest. I saw that the cases were not going to be pursued. There was not going to be any ongoing proactive investigation, and therefore I knew that the public would never know what we knew at this point. And I think the family and certainly the mothers of these two slain children, or these two slain rappers, um, have a right to know everything that we know if it's not going to go forward. Yes, I do. That conversation took place at his attorney's office, along with myself, a couple other investigators, Keffe D and his attorney, and we sit down and we've went over the entire uh, his entire confession or his explanation of what took place in the Tupac murder. Well, I had good reason to believe his story. He was facing drug charges that would have put him away for the rest of his life. And the arrangement we had with him was that if he cooperated on any case that we asked him, not just the Tupac case, but any case, including his own drug case, if we found out that he lied about anything, we would not only be able to that we would not only pursue the charges, which we should have done anyways, but we could also use his confession against him. And so it doesn't make any sense under those circumstances for him to lie. It only would have hurt him. That's correct. I was not really surprised when he told us that it was Orlando. Just on a circumstantial basis alone, Orlando had always been the leading suspect in that murder, so that was no surprise. But when he told us who else was involved in the conspiracy, we were a little bit shocked at that. Well, we couldn't arrest him just based off of Keffe D's confession alone. We needed to corroborate Keffe D's confession, and that's what I was working on. I was trying to utilize the information that Keffe D was giving us in order to go and build more evidence against the co-conspirators. I was then taken off the case, and as far as I can tell, nothing happened since. So I can't explain what the police department's um, inability to go further was. Yes.
Who?
The individuals in the car were Keffe D, who was sitting in the right front passenger seat. You had behind him in the right rear passenger seat Orlando Anderson, his nephew. The driver was a guy named Terrence Brown, and then behind Terrence Brown in the in the rear driver's side seat was a guy named DeAndre Smith. The if Under that configuration, it was necessary for Orlando to actually lean across the car, lean over DeAndre Smith in order to shoot out the window on the driver's side of the car. Absolutely not. We didn't find any evidence anywhere in the investigation that Biggie Smalls knew anything about the murder. There was never anything to corroborate or substantiate his knowledge of the murder. According to Keffe D, there were more than one conversations, at least two conversations where they discussed killing Suge Knight and Tupac. And they were just one-on-one conversations between Keffe D and Puffy Combs, according to him. We don't believe Keffe D ever received the money. Whether or not Puffy had ever given any money out to um, towards that, we don't know. We just know Keffe D claims he never received any money. There may have been a middleman who ran off with it. I I suspect that he either believed that he would get paid eventually. Another complication in it was that Keffe D, not long after all of this, he ended up getting arrested and going to prison. So it was going to be a lot more difficult for him to try to collect on his debt from prison. So there were some circumstances that took place that may have precluded him collecting. Well, based on his confession, we can't use his own confession against him. He is protected from his own incriminating statements under the arrangement that we had in order to get him to talk. We can use his confession and his statements against anybody else, but we can't use him against him as long as he's telling the truth. So that's he's protected from his own incriminating statements under those circumstances. No, I haven't received any kind of personal correspondence. I understand that he made a statement to a newspaper that he, believes the whole thing is untrue, but that's as much as I know. Oh, I suspect, yeah. I knew going into this that I would probably end up getting sued by potentially multiple people, but I wasn't going to let that deter me from telling this story. I was not going to be intimidated by the fear of being sued in order to not tell what I know. So we'll see what happens next. I would be happy to. This is all very new to me as far as publishing a book. I self-published this book. I didn't go through a publishing house, so I don't even know how, honestly, that works, how to get a book translated into another language. So I'll look into it, but at this time, I'm not even sure how to go about doing it. It's available on Amazon.com. I think it should be available on. I think there's like an Amazon UK, but it's on Barnes and Noble. It's through Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and it's also available on the electronic books for things like the Kindle or the Nook. I don't know how to say very much in Spanish, but God bless you all. I wish you all the best, and I hope you enjoy the book and keep seeking the truth, and we'll eventually find it.